Before you go into your next Zoom meeting, Microsoft Teams, Google Meet, whatever it may be, make sure you watch this entire video because I'm going to teach you how to be a virtual meeting pro step by step the entire way. Make sure you come on back. How's it going, Nez Nation? It's so good to see you. Thank you for joining me here. Virtual meetings. They've pretty much become a way of life. There's no way of avoiding them now, and I don't think they're going anywhere in the future, even after we surpass this pandemic, and it will happen. I know it will. COVID has only done one thing. It's accelerated the inevitable. And all of these technologies, these ways of communicating, conducting business, meetings, etc., it's not going anywhere. And the expectations of how you conduct yourself in these virtual meetings says a lot about your professionalism, your brand, your etiquette, your personality, everything. So we all need to be virtual meeting pros now. It's essential. A lot of us, you may be watching this video and you may think to yourself, well, I just turn on my laptop and, I just join the meeting. What's the big deal? There's so much more to that. In the first part of this video, I'm going to talk about the best tips on how to really effectively be a virtual meeting pro when you're an attendee and somebody who is contributing to the conversation. And then at the end, make sure you stick around. At the end of the video, I'm going to mention the best tips on how you can be a virtual meeting pro if you're running the show and conducting the actual virtual meeting yourself. Tip number one on how to be a virtual meeting pro is, it seems very, very simple and it seems like something that we overlook a lot, but you've got to have a decent looking background. It's become so easy now to really make your background look professional. If you look at my background right now, it's pretty simple. There's really not that much going on there. I've got a nice lamp, I've got a desk, I've got a plant. Now I do have my Nez Nation branding because I'm a business, I'm a brand. But this painting right here, my wife got for me, I think, off of Amazon or something. I can't remember, maybe even Target. But it's very simple and it's very, it looks good. The biggest thing is I don't want to make this tip about you need to go out and buy all this backdrop and background material and a fake office setting or bookshelf. You don't need to do all that. Just be aware of your background. It's essential that you have some awareness. So many of you, I see this all the time with clients of mine. I run a client services business. I've been using Zoom and all these different softwares for 5+ years, way before it was popular. So I see it all the time. If you're conducting your virtual meeting or you're attending and your background is your bedroom, especially if it's a bedroom that's not really properly made, or it just seems like a background that is inappropriate or unprofessional or doesn't align with the level of professionalism in the meeting that you're in. I've actually seen this with some clients who have conducted job interviews in this way. It really speaks badly on who you are as a professional. So be aware. It's not hard. It's not difficult. It's very, very simple. As a matter of fact, I'm going to leave links in the description to all sorts of amazing tools, equipment that I'm going to talk about throughout this video that you can go get inexpensively, super, super convenient, not expensive, that you can get on Amazon. I have all the links in the description down below. Make sure you go click that. Tip number 2 is you also want to make sure that you're well lit. There is nothing worse than being in a meeting where your face is dark and nobody can see your face. It's a much more connective tool that having that visual presence and camera branding, it's absolutely essential. I've got a video that I did that literally walks you through step by step how to look good on camera in your meetings. I'll leave a link to that in the description down below and on the end card at the end of this video. Make sure you watch that video after this one because it walks you through step by step with no tech skills required how to really light yourself properly and a lot of other camera branding skills. Tip number 3 has to do with audio and video. Now, your laptops, most of the newer ones, have a pretty decent camera. I am shooting this right now for purposes of this video on my Logitech Brio. Again, I'll leave links in the description down below. This is a more expensive 4K webcam, but I don't want to get too technical in this video. Literally, it's plug and play. Logitech is a great company. I'll leave links in the description down below where you can get the C920, which is very inexpensive, and it just ups your video quality and resolution. without any technical skills. It's literally a USB cable that you plug directly into your laptop or your desktop. It looks and it sharpens the image dramatically. You may want to think about investing with this, especially because virtual meetings are not going anywhere. If anything, they're just going to become more and more prevalent and abundant as we progress. So looking good, because the built-in webcams that you have, 99% of them look awful. I mean, they just don't look good at all. This is a worthy investment because they last long. There's no technical skills required. It's plug and play, and it adds so much more to your visual representation. As far as audio goes, the built-in microphones on your laptop are atrocious. There's nothing on video and virtual meetings that really personifies poor quality more than bad audio. And there are so many. Some of you may think, well, Nez, I can't afford a $2,000 podcasting mic. You don't need one. All you need is something very simple, just a simple upgrade that gives your audio that much more clarity and resonance. Again, I'm going to leave links in the description down below under my podcasting and live streaming gear. You click that, it's my Amazon storefront, and you'll see all the stuff that I recommend and personally vouch for, that I actually recommend to my clients as well. Full disclosure, they are affiliate links, so I do get a very, very small commission, but it's a win-win because I believe in the product. I support the product. They're actually amazing products. And plus, you can support me in this channel. Win-win. Tip number 4, do not dial in your meetings using your phone. Yes, Zoom is on phone. Yes, Microsoft Teams, and a lot of these, even Google Meet, they have capacity for mobile, but it just is bad boogie. It's just awful for so many reasons, and I'll tell you why. You can't hold a phone steady, okay? Even if you have one of these stands or what have you, a shaky background and a shaky image is extremely, extremely distracting. Plus, you can't get the full layout of the kind of gallery view, and you can't pick up on facial cues, expressions. You don't have the full arsenal at your disposal like you do on a desktop or a laptop. So do not dial in on phone. It makes for distracting. I've actually had client meetings where people have dialed in on their phone, in their car, poor audio, shaky this. They try to hold it the whole time. I immediately just say, hey, either you get a refund or let's reschedule because this isn't going to work. I've always made this very, very clear in my instructions not to dial in through phone, but still some people do. I understand. It happens. Do not dial in with your phone. Tip number 5, do not multitask. How many of you, let me know in the comments down below, how many of you have been in a virtual meeting and somebody is doing a million different things at once? They're petting their dog, they're typing in emails, they're texting, they're, homeschooling their kids, which I understand. I'm homeschooling my kids too. You need to set aside some time. Multitasking sends the wrong message to the other participants in the meeting. It bodes for a very unprofessional look. It doesn't look good. It just doesn't. Even if you think you can multitask, even if you think you're the grandmaster ninja of multitasking, don't do it. I have a lot of compassion for this one because I understand what's going on right now, and I understand it's difficult and we've got so much on our plate right now, and you should be really compassionate and empathize and understanding of your colleagues as well. But it's really, really important because everybody in the meeting expects you to be present. If you're not present, especially if you're a facilitator or you're running the meeting and you're multitasking, you're sending a message to everybody else that it's okay to check out. And believe me, they will. Let me know in the comments down below. Have you ever been a part of a meeting where somebody who's either running the meeting or somebody prominent in the meeting is multitasking and doing other things? Let me know in the comment. How did that make you feel? Did it not bother? Maybe it didn't bother you. Say, hey, Nez, it's not a big deal. It didn't bother me at all. Or say, hey, Nez, it completely detracted. I want to hear from you. Leave a comment down below. Before we get into the tips that are designated for those of you who are running meetings, is make sure that your webcam is at eye level. Nobody wants to see your nostrils. I promise you. I don't even care how many times you've been told you have cute, adorable nostrils. Nobody wants to see them. Trust me. If you don't have a computer stand or anything like that, or it just doesn't, equate with eye level, you got to be creative. Find some books. It's really not that hard. Use a couple of books, put it on some kind of a bookshelf or put it on the table, a higher table, whatever you need to do. Make sure that your webcam is at eye level and practice making eye contact not with the screen where everybody is located on Zoom and other platforms, but actually looking into the camera lens when you talk. I know this seems strange and it seems awkward talking into a camera lens, but you have to think of the camera lens as a pair of eyes. The people behind the camera lens are your coworkers, maybe your supervisor, your staff, whoever it is in the meeting. Those people, when you make that eye contact, it elevates engagement, it elevates interest, and it accelerates trust. Practice as much as you can. Practice makes better, not perfect, but trust me, that is a big one. And it really works if you're facilitating or if you are an attendee at a meeting. Look into the camera, treat the camera as if there's a human being there. It'll make a big difference, and you will be looked at as a virtual meeting pro. Okay, now I'm going to give you 5 of the best tips. They're still going to relate to if you're attending a meeting, but this is specifically for you who are running meetings, facilitating meetings, and really running the entire show. So let's get right into it. Okay, the first tip then is make sure, and it's a big one, make sure that you check the technology before you go live with your meeting. This may seem extremely obvious, but any technical issue that you can fathom or imagine could go wrong, think about Murphy's Law. If it can go wrong, it probably will. And there'll also be a ton of other issues that may arise that you've never even thought of. I've been going live and creating video content and live streaming content for the past couple of decades, really. More so in the last 5+ years. I've done over 1,000 broadcasts. Every single time I go live, every single time I have a meeting with my students, a meeting with my audience, whatever it is, whatever I think I have everything covered, whenever I think I've got every point, I've covered every base, something always arises. So make sure you check everything thoroughly so you can avoid all the technical mishaps that can make your meeting go awry and also hurt your ethos and professionalism. The second tip for those of you who are running the ship is to make sure that you do less lecturing and more facilitating. One of the biggest problems with virtual meetings is people get distracted very easily. You're not in a room. People aren't watching you. There's so many different clever ways in which you can look busy and not look busy. I think there's even reports of a guy who completely recorded a loop of him just being in the meeting and he wasn't there at all and nobody even noticed it. And so distractions are abound. Do less talking at and more interaction, more participatory, more things aligned with your presentation or your meeting that will really promote that engagement and interaction with your participant. That's going to be a game changer for your meeting. Trust me on that. A couple of things you can do to make your meetings more interactive is to not just lecture and talk for too prolonged amounts of time. Stop every couple of minutes and really pose questions. Ask your audience, ask your participants, what do you think of that? What are your thoughts? Do you have anything to add to that? Do you have any questions? Really making sure that you're identifying and acknowledging the participants in your meeting is going to up your professionalism, make you look like a virtual meeting pro, and people are going to be less distracted and less likely to check out. Number 3 tip for you to have the best virtual meeting possible and look like a virtual meeting pro, especially when you're running everything, is to tell stories. I know it sounds strange, but there's actual psychological studies that show that the human mind is much more receptive and active during the telling of a story as much as it is in receiving and hearing a story. So whatever lesson plan, whatever, mission or purpose your meeting, poses to your audience, try to vehicle it and communicate it in the form of stories. That is going to elevate your engagement, interaction, everything. And also it's going to keep people present, keep people more actively involved in your meeting and make you look like an absolute virtual meeting pro. The number 4 tip, much like stories, visuals, using visual aids, screen shares, etc., really add a lot of dynamic value to your meeting. So instead of just you talking the entire time, don't be afraid to screen share. Show some visuals. I do this all the time in my live streams and my meetings with my students, everybody, etc. This is called pattern disruption. We talk about this as retention strategies for video marketing marketing and video creation is to really break it up. Don't have too much of one aspect of the meeting. Don't have too much talking and lecturing, or even too much interaction can sometimes be bad. You want to keep the conversation flowing. Pattern disruption, adding visuals that enhance and augment what you have to pose or what you're positing in your meeting is absolutely essential. And it makes you look like a virtual meeting pro, and it also keeps things moving really nicely and energized. The number 5 tip for you to be an absolute virtual meeting pro, especially if you were running the meeting yourself, is to end with a clear call to action. This is so important, okay? You've given all this information. You've met for an hour, 2 hours, or however long the amount of duration is. Now it's important that you bring purpose and effectiveness and really communicate clearly what are the next steps that your audience, your staff, your coworkers, your supervisor, whoever the meeting participants are, you got to make it clear to them what are the next steps. How do I implement this knowledge or implement what we talked about in this meeting? Giving them clear action plans and necessary steps to take the information and actually really apply it and absorb it and use it is essential. So have a very clear call to action based on everything that you've talked about. So for example, let me give you an example. So if I have a meeting with my students, for example, and I'm talking about a project, and this is a project that's important for their grade, something that they have to do, and I've talked about all the different steps, I've talked about the different, aspects of the project and what it entails. At the end of those meetings, I always say, okay, so here's what you need to do next. Next, you need to take all this information, come up with a topic. So for example, I have a project that I do in my business communications class, which is really a kind of audience demographic analysis project. At the end of that meeting where I go over the prompt and everything that the project entails, I always tell them, okay, now this is what you need to do. You need to come up with an idea, validate the idea. I need a topic proposal, and I'm giving them the necessary steps so they can complete the project. And all the information has not just gone to a loss, but it's actually something that's productive and valuable and something they can use. Giving that clear action at the end is extremely, extremely important, and it's going to make you look like a virtual meeting pro. I hope you got a ton of value out of this meeting. Don't forget, I've got those other videos in the description down below. How to look good on camera for your virtual meetings. A ton of other videos that are going to help you with your brand, with your communication, with your efficacy. Make sure you go check those down below. If you got some value from this video, I would love it if you could smash that smash button down below. It would mean the world to me. And you pretty much need to consider subscribing. You know why, right? Because I'm bringing you brain-busting content every single week. So if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do that. I really, really appreciate you guys. Go check out these other videos over here because these other videos are monumental. Make sure you subscribe to my shorts channel, subscribe down under the main channel, and I'll see you in the next video.